Hello, I'm live. I'm alone, y'all. Sorry. Um, Pam's actually got a really bad headache. She's laying down, but she's off in the distance, but she is not feeling well, so she's laying down. I see there's a couple people here. I see McCall is here and busy. um, I read that stuff, McCall. So just as a quick, well, there's not that many people here, but it might be a little shorter tonight since I'm by myself, and I literally just got done cleaning up outside from putting some more bales up. So I may have straw all over me. I'm not really sure, but I might keep it a little shorter tonight, unless there's a lot to talk about. Um, but I see McCall's comments. I mean, we're just doing the best we can. Of course, we'd always like to we'd always like to put out more videos and get more subscribers and all that stuff, but we're doing what we can. Um, People want to see you guys work. I know. I know. Oh, still a couple more minutes till 6. Howdy, y'all. I'm not sure who's out there, uh, but I am alone tonight. I'll wait till somebody's. Alan Key. Hey, Alan. Where are you at, Alan? Just out of curiosity. Hey, Melissa. Do not adjust your screens. Pam is Pam is over there laying down. She's just not feeling real well. West Virginia. You may have told us that before. That rings a bell. Another beautiful day of weather, but I did make a trip to Sierra Vista today for a couple of reasons. So I didn't get quite as much done as I would have liked to, but I did make some progress. I just finished up a few minutes ago with some bales. I've got the fourth course done, which is really the sort of the top course. The next course is a half course, so I've got to cut some more half bales, half height bales. So this way instead of this way. So that's all I've got left to do. All the rebar's in place. So as soon as I cut those half height bales, maybe I shouldn't get ahead of myself. It's only 5:59. I'll wait for a little more. How's everybody doing? Say hello if you're out there. Sorry for the shadow, but again, I just got finished. Hey, Sherry. Hey, Don. Pam, so yeah, I've said I started too early. I said it a couple of times. Pam's got a really bad headache and she's laying down. She's over there. She may yell out if she hears something, but she just had to lay down. I guess she's not feeling real well. And I just got in. I haven't even eaten yet, so I might keep it a little shorter tonight since one, I'm alone, and two, I just got done. I just made it in from cleaning up after bales, and I haven't eaten yet or anything. So um, I'll be holding off to eat till after this. Uh, Dawn says hi.
Thanks.
Thanks. um, so let's see. So I'll get started at 6:01. So I might repeat something, but I started a couple minutes early. But so today I went to Sierra Vista. So after yesterday, I got and hopefully you could see from the thumbnail for the live. I was almost done with that fourth course, and there actually were some. I could have just thrown some full bales on there. Didn't even really have to cut them or anything, but I ran out of rebar. So the stakes that I've been putting in. Thanks, Don. um, so I didn't want to throw any bales up there without any real stability. So, I mean, they could have just blown over or something if the wind picked up. So I didn't go any further last night. I wanted to get some rebar today. So I went down to Sierra Vista. I got some rebar. I got some additional 2x4s because I've used some, and my next step is building the box beam. Hi, Mom. My next step is building the box beam, which will be largely out of 2x4. So 2x4s and plywood, really. So I was a little bit short on 2x4s, I think, and I didn't really want to run out, so I got a couple extra. And I had used some 2x4s for some other things that I didn't really anticipate, so I was a little short. So I got a few extra. So I should be ready to put the box beam together, which will be in the next day or two. I'll be starting on it, and hopefully it'll only take me a day or two. Um, so, so I made a trip to Sierra Vista today. I did a quick run to Harbor Freight. I had a Harbor Freight clamp that broke, and they have lifetime warranty. So I just walked in, told them it was broken, and went and grabbed a new one. So that worked out nice. That was the first time I've ever returned something to Harbor Freight, even though I knew their policy was they're supposed to be pretty no questions asked. If it's broken, you bring it back and you get a new one. So it did work out that way. So that was good. And also in Sierra Vista, I made one last visit in person to the truss folks, which is Southwest Truss. The trusses are coming on Tuesday, so a week from yesterday. And I just wanted to talk to the truss guy one last time in person to make sure I kind of understood what they were going to look like and exactly how to attach them and everything, and the best way to kind of go about it, and temporarily sort of brace them as we're putting them up, and some more longer term stuff. So, so I had one little. Hi, Michael. Um, One last meeting with Jim, is the truss guy down at Southwest Truss, and that went well. Sounds like I'm ready, or I've got the right idea. Um, yeah, Don, you're invited. So the truss, I've got a handful of people coming for the trusses on the following Saturday. So next Saturday. Again, the trusses should be here Tuesday, and we'll be trying to put them up on Saturday. So I'm getting in the last of the bales, and then I'm going to start the box beam, which hopefully won't take very long. I've done a couple little tests, but I haven't done the full box beam. I got to make sure I get everything square and everything. But I've been doing a lot of plumb measurements as I go with the bales and everything, especially at the corners. So I think everything's in decent shape. So I hope the box beam is fairly simple. I am going to build it in place. That'll allow me to make it a little more rigid. Um, Rather than trying to build it in pieces and bring it up and piece it together. So I've decided to kind of build it in place. So it'll give me a chance to kind of um, span some of the joints instead of putting things together on the ground and then lifting them up in pieces. I'm going to try and build it right in place so that I can not have so many kind of joints, or at least I'll span joints of 2x4s with plywood, so that everything won't end at the same place. So hopefully that'll give me a little more stability. So, but other than that, other than building in place, it should be a pretty straightforward operation. Just kind of building a ladder out of 2x4s, and covering one side of it with plywood to pull down onto the bales. So hopefully that'll go quick. Pandora's box beam. Um, Jared, maybe it's time for the trusses. It is time for there's an inside joke. There's a karaoke joke. Uh, who knows what might be let out? Oh boy. Um, So that's one step I've got to do still not necessarily before the trusses come, but before we put them on. And after I get that box beam up, I then need to build a very short wall. It's going to be about 28 inches tall of just standard 2x4 framing. So, a sill plate, some studs that'll really only be about 2 feet tall, and then a double top plate. And I've built walls like that before on my shed, and this one's only going to be, like I said, it's going to be about 2.5 feet tall. So it should be pretty simple to build, and it shouldn't be real big and heavy or anything. So I don't know yet whether I'll build it kind of up there in place or build it in pieces and carry it up. But again, it should be fairly small and not real heavy and awkward, hopefully. So I think those two steps should be pretty straightforward, but of course there could be some unknowns there. But I've got about a week and a half before the trust party, so hopefully things are under control. Brian, are you going to use some sort of scaffolding? I don't think so. There's only going to need to be two people, one of which will be me. I'm not sure who the other will be, but basically up high where the trusses will land. to attach some rafter ties to the trusses. So there's only two people that have to kind of be up high. For everybody else, it's really just a matter of getting several hands on that truss, walking it in, maneuvering a little bit, handing it up to us two people. And I'm going to take a page from Bill's book, what I learned being over at Bill's when he did his trusses. He built a little kind of homemade tool, which turned out to be really helpful. He basically made a 2x4 post with a couple extra 2x4s sandwiched at the top of it to kind of make a little fork or a little I'm not sure how to describe it, but so he's got two 2x4s up against a 2x4, so they've got a little gap in between them, and basically he used that to kind of set the truss in, and then he could lift that 2x4 up to raise the truss up. So I can't remember who. I don't think Don. No, Don, you weren't there, but yeah, that's the idea. So a post with a kind of a fork on top of it to kind of hold the truss in between that fork, so that you can lift it up higher. So there only should have to be two people up high. I'll be one of them, and I've got a long ladder. And for the other side, for the low side, I think a standard ladder should suffice, but we'll figure it out. I was going to use that for my gutters, but fishing line was much more fun. I loved the fishing line video, Don. But I think that it should be pretty straightforward. That's one of the reasons I went to talk to the guy, the truss guy today. All of the rafter ties should be installed kind of from the inside. So those two guys I talked about that'll be up high should be kind of on the inside of the building. So, I mean, can lean against the walls. I don't anticipate it being too bad. So, and even if I had, yeah, we always used a 2x6 with a notch in the end. It's kind of the same thing. Yeah, same idea. Oh, Melinda and Dad in Virginia Beach. Hey guys, they're on a little vacation. Are the trusses cathedral or straight across? They're single slope. It's a shed roof, so it's just a single slope roof. So they're just that simple, right? And it's not even a big slope. It's like 1 in 12. So for every 12 inches across, it goes 1 inch up. So they're not even sloped all that much. So across the span of our building, which is a little over, I think it's around 25 feet. It's actually 25 feet interior. It's about 27 and a half outside to outside. It's going to raise, like I said, about 28 and a half inches or something over that 27 feet. It's really close to a 1 in 12 slope, which is pretty low, but for out here, we can kind of get away with that. So that's been the plan all along. It's the same style of roof I put on the shed. It was just sitting on different wall supports. They were stud framed walls, and it was a little shorter span. So of course I just use rafters. I just use a board. But it's the same idea, so it should be fairly straightforward. Yeah, it's about as simple as you can make it. Just one slope. High side is on the south, and the low side is on the north. So Don says my pocketbook got shed of about $400 in the last couple of days for my solar ground mount array. Oh, great! Did you just go with mostly wood, and did you go with something similar to what I did and what Bill did, which is just basically wood supports and unistrut? I almost lost the word. Unistrut to attach the panels. So the unistrut attaches to wood, and the panels attached to the unistrut. Are you going with that kind of a? Yes, I checked both of yours and Bill's many times today. It's a pretty straightforward build, Don. It shouldn't be that bad. You got to get the angles right. I have no math geometric mind at all. It's not that complex. If you do want to, and ultimately, I mean, if you've got some kind of tool that's going to show you some angles, then you don't even really care about the math. But if you do want to talk about the math at all, and what things should be as far as different heights and everything, if you want to ask me, let me know. It's all just based on triangles. That's how I did mine. But I think you said you've got kind of a handy tool that'll give you angles, so you might not even care about the math really if you've got a reliable measuring device for your angles. So, oh, you've got T-post marking it out. Okay. Yeah. So, let's see. I'm changing it up to be more like yours. Panels are all horizontal rather than vertical. I changed it. Oh, so yeah, Don was just out here maybe a week ago, visiting and looking at the uh, the panel mount we've got. Um, and as I told him, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can mount panels. There's really only two. There's only two kind of rules you can't really break, which is point them in the right direction and at the right angle, and don't block them with anything. Other than that, you can orient them pretty much however you want, as long as you can wire them together. So you've got quite a bit of freedom there. So whatever works for you, Don. Um, but let's see. So, I do, like I said, I do still have some work to do for the to be ready to install the trusses, but I believe that I have everything figured to get there. But I think I even have hopefully a little bit of extra time, because I'm sure there will be a couple unknowns, as there always are. But these two steps hopefully should be fairly straightforward. So, oh, Brian, the little Klein tool was amazing. Okay, you were telling me about it. Just stuck a long 1x3 piece of trim to pretend it was a 2x6 and put the tool on it, 31 degrees. Sure, sure. I don't have a good, which is why I kind of relied on the math. I don't have a real good angle measuring device. You can use your phone, but I use my phone. I don't know. I think I mentioned this in one of my videos. I use my phone's compass to determine south at one point. It was actually for the house. And I don't know if anybody's ever used their phone as a compass, but I mean, it's not very accurate. And if you take different measurements at different times, at least unless I was doing something wrong, it just seemed like it was always different. And I even ended up building my foundation a little kind of weird. And then I actually moved it at one point. I used basically the sun to really prove what true south was. I used the shadow of the sun at solar noon on a day to see the shadow, um, and found out that my phone at times was just off. So I don't really trust my phone for those kind of measurements anymore. So I did rely on the math heavily for the angles of the panels. Aircrete house build is, Pam, what's the names? April and Red. Hey guys, Pam is off in the distance. She has a really bad headache, so she's laying down right now, but she can hear us. Um, so I'll probably keep it a little short tonight. Much like last week, you know, there is a lot of progress. I did make a lot of progress on the bales, but it's not anything new really to talk about. So other than telling you guys I put a bunch of bales up, there's not a whole lot to say. Um, April and Red. So there's not a lot new. It's all really trying to just make sure I am ready for the trust party. So thanks to everybody out there who's coming over. Thanks in advance. Um, I think it'll be pretty straightforward. Um, Brian, that bale progress is fantastic. Tons of hard work. Thanks, Don. It is. I have been putting in some long days, but the weather's been great for it, so I don't mind it too much. I basically, the last few days I've been working till I can't really see very well anymore. So, and right before this, I just finished up and it was getting dark about then too. So again, I started a little early, but I've got all of the full courses in the 4 courses, and I'm down to just some of the half height bales that I have to do at the top. So tomorrow I'll be doing some cutting horizontally with the chainsaw to cut some half height bales. That's a little slow, that work, because it's not real pretty, and you have to be real careful to get them as straight as you can. They don't have to be dead on perfect, but it's nice to get them pretty good. So that's what I'll be doing tomorrow. Hopefully I can finish up those half bales. I was hoping to do it today, but I did make a trip to Sierra Vista today, which unfortunately, for almost anything you do in Sierra Vista, that takes at least half a day to make it there and back for us, and oftentimes it'll take a full day. But I made a quick trip down to Lowe's to get some rebar and 2x4s, and I talked to the truss guy in person one last time. So everything's looking good for the trusses for them to get them here, and I think I understand how to kind of connect them. So we talked about that kind of stuff today. There's a little bit of uniqueness that I'm not going to be Hey, Craig. Um, I had my panels purchased. So, Michael, I had my panels purchased with FedGov program. I paid 50% back in 2009. Awesome. I actually, that's funny that you mentioned kind of like rebates and stuff. When we bought all of our solar equipment, it was a couple of years ago, right? Shortly after we got here. And that stuff's all supposed to be, you're supposed to be able to apply for rebates and stuff on your taxes. But because we did it all when we had no income, all it really did is it's supposed to lower your taxable income essentially, right? And since we didn't have any taxable income, we didn't really get anything out of that. So that was unfortunate. Um, so I think I even asked my tax guy about it. So I don't think I made any mistakes. I was going to say unless I missed something or did something wrong, but I asked if I could make that work, and without income to reduce, there wasn't really much we could do. So that was unfortunate. Um, but I was going to mention there's a couple unique, well, one just kind of thing to know, and another uniqueness. Um, One of the things about the trusses, because we are not going to do kind of a standard ceiling underneath it, like sheetrock or anything, um, we do need to. I think of them as kind of purlins, but they call it a rat run. I hadn't heard that term before. But basically, I have to take 2x4s and attach them to the bottoms, and I actually can go instead of just going right up against the bottom of that bottom cord, that 2x4 that runs the bottom of the truss. I can go to the top of that bottom 2x4, so to the other side of it, so that it's not hanging down into the room. But I have to put a 2x4 kind of across between the trusses to give them a little stability, probably for kind of racking, since I'm not going to be doing a standard kind of sheetrock ceiling. So that was one of the things they told me that I have to do. And he said I should probably just do it as I'm installing them. Just take 2x4s and put them across there. And um, I might be able to get away with just a handful of them to kind of tack them in to keep them from moving around too much. But ultimately, they need to be kind of covered in those things in certain intervals. It's on the engineering drawings. Um, Michael Chug was a school teacher with 1926 house, low income really helped. Oh, nice. Back in West Virginia, older house. Nice. Probably did a lot of work, I imagine. Um, Brian, I think Bill at Upside Downsizing is out of the trust picture, right? Yeah. I know he's got a situation going on, right? That he's either supposed to have an operation. I don't know if he had it already or not, but yeah. Craig says we put multiple rat. Oh, Craig just did Craig just did a trust thing at Habitat for Humanity. So I hadn't heard the term rat run before. So it to me it's a lot like purlins across rafters. Like I did on the carport, but they're in kind of a different position. But it's all about that stability side to side and spacing and all that stuff. So anyway, he talked to me about that. And the other thing that isn't really unique, but it's something to know, is that the two to get kind of overhang. So obviously the trusses are made at a length that will give me overhang kind of from at the ends of the trusses, right? They're extra length on the top and the bottom, or the front and the back, whatever you want to call it, to give me, in my case, overhang on the north and south ends of the building. Um, uh, I'll get that in a second, Michael. But to get the overhang kind of from east to west, from side to side, basically the trusses stop at the edge of the building, and those last two trusses, the trusses on the edge of the building on those sides, are special, right? They've got a double top cord, so the top piece of the truss is just a standard 2x4, really. But in the case of those two end trusses that are at the edge of the building, they have two 2x4s, one above the other, kind of like this. And the idea is that top 2x4, I can actually cut a notch in, and I can cut it the whole 3.5 inches, and take a 2x4 kind of on edge like this, and start it one truss in, kind of put it up against the truss that's one truss in, kind of to the face of that truss, run it through that notch, and let it hang out off the side of the building. And that's called, there's a bunch of different names for that, I think. An out a lookout, an outrigger. There's a lot of different names for that, I think. Some of you may know what that is, but with a different name. But the idea is to just hang one more board basically off the edge of the building for uh, overhang from east to west. So that was something we talked about doing those lookouts. Um, I don't believe on any of the roofs I've done so far. I'm trying to think what I did on the shed. Maybe I did do something like that on the shed. I actually can't even remember because the shed does have, even though it was just rafters, the shed does have overhang on those sides. I can't even remember. It's been a little while. So Michael asks nails or screws in rafter ties. I believe you can actually do either. Now, if you use Simpson strong ties, which just about everybody does, if you read Simpson's literature, they make special screws, I guess, that are, I think they call them strong drive screws that are supposed to be special for rafter ties. But they also have, rafter tie nails, and I think either is acceptable. But you're not supposed to, I don't think you're not supposed to use just regular screws to put those in. If you are going to use screws, I think they're supposed to be the special screws um, that they make specifically for the rafter ties. So I think you have a choice there. I think both are acceptable. I'll probably be just nailing them because that's what I've done on all my other rafter ties. Um, but I'm trying to think what else. I basically today was just running around making sure I've got all my materials and making sure I understand everything correctly, and I think I do. But who knows what'll sneak up on me. Um, are you going to need the palm nailer? That's a good point, Craig. I could probably use the palm nailer. It's I mean, you can get them in with a hammer, but the palm nailer did turn out to be really handy, especially for rafter ties because it's kind of a tight little spot with a hammer. So yes, I had forgotten about that, Craig, but I would love to borrow that if you get a chance to bring that by. Um, that is a cool little tool. I probably should just have one, but I haven't used it all that often, and I was able to borrow Craig's the last time I did. The Simpson screws are handy with an impact nailer. Aim is easier. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I have a nail gun, of course, but the problem with a nail gun is you can't really, at least not with my nail gun, you can't hit a spot exactly. Like if you're trying to hit a hole in a rafter tie where a nail is supposed to go. Um, okay, there you go. Driver not. You threw me when you said impact nailer for screws. Um, okay. Um, yeah, but I think I mean, I actually haven't decided whether I was going to use screws or nails for those. I've used nails for all the others. Um, but uh, yeah, so the impact nailer is nice to get up close and really put the nail where you want it. You can actually set it in that hole before you start. But with a nail gun, that's not going to work. So when it comes to rafter ties and things like that, you can't really use a nail gun unless I'm missing something or unless there's a lot nicer nail guns than I have. Um, but that's it. So I've talked about kind of the half bale solution on the top. Um, I don't remember if I mentioned it in here, but I think I'm getting comfortable enough with bales that I've come up with, I think, a solution that I can uh, fill the space underneath, at least underneath all my windows. Well, above them might be a different story, but underneath all my windows, I think I can do with bales. I'll have to do a little bit of stuffing with loose straw, but it should just be little gaps of maybe an inch or so. Um, Craig says a couple of questions. Craig says, any more thought on the window boxes on the south wall? So far, I don't think I'm going to build a box yet, but but that's just how I am looking today. Um, Craig's asking basically for the short wall on top of the box beam, that what's going to be the high side of the house. I'm building this short wall, which is just going to be a stud framed wall. He and I had talked about building kind of a box like structure to give more support to the trusses. I don't think I'm going to do that, at least not right now. I could potentially, it might be a little weird, but I might even be able to pull that off after the fact if it looked like there was a need. Maria, welcome, Maria. That's a new name for me. How big is the house? It is, interior. It's about I was going for 24 by 30, and I think I ended up at more like 25 by 31. That's the interior. Then, of course, the bales are pretty thick, so it's, it's a good 2.5 feet more for the width of the bales in each direction. But that gives our interior square footage around, I think it's about 775, something like that. We were shooting for 7 to 750. We got just a tiny bit bigger, but that's okay. Um, Don says, Brian, if you don't mind, do you remember what size and type of screws for your solar mount? I think for a couple of spaces, when I attached kind of the beams, the horizontal beams to the 4x4s, so the things that the weight is actually going to rest on, I think I used kind of some of those structural. Bill uses them a lot too, and I've used them. Some of those structural engineering screws, and if you Google them, I don't know if you've heard of them yet or not, but they're supposed to be kind of a replacement for what they call lag screws or lag bolts, where you would basically drill all the way through the pieces of wood, put something through, and put a nut on the end and squeeze that whole thing. These structural screws are supposed to be a replacement for those, and all you have to do is drive the screw in. It's a long screw, and it has the threads only kind of on the end part of it, so you can get them in like 4 inch, 6 inch. Um, so that was a special screw that I used to attach the beams to the posts because I wanted a really strong connection there. I wouldn't do any just like regular screws there. It would either be lag bolts or these structural engineering screws. They sell them at Home Depot and Lowe's. I think they might even sell the same brand. There's a brand called Timberlock. I've talked about them in my videos. I think Bill's talked about them in his videos. So thanks, Craig. Um, but so those are important when it comes to those connections. For everything else, I did just use standard kind of outdoor, exterior screws. Everybody's kind of gone to the star drive much more than the Phillips head. Phillips head tend to slip out a little bit and strip. So star drive, I think, is becoming much more common for everybody, really. So you buy a box of those, and they come with a little bit for your drill with the star head. So, but the special screws that I use were for beams to posts. You want something really strong there. In the past, it would have been lag bolts or lag screws, but now they've got these structural engineering screws that I think are pretty solid. So I would look into those. And if you have any questions, let me know. But like I said, I talk about them in some videos, and I think Bill does as well. I know they're star type, but don't know size. So those ones, those special ones I talked about, they actually have like a hex head on them, and you use like a socket to put those in, and they give you a socket that goes into your drill, your impact driver. They give you that piece right in the box. Those have a hex head on them, but those other screws would be star drive. So that's all I have to say about that. Do you remember what size those screws were? Um, it depends on what you're putting together, but I think I used a 4 or 5 inch for that. I'm actually using some 6 inch versions of those when I do my vampire stakes on the bales out here. I'm using a 6 inch version of that screw because I'm basically burying a stake inside the bale, and I want to go through a piece of wood and through the bale until I reach that stake that's embedded in there, and I want to grab it and kind of squeeze those two together. So I've been using a 6 inch version of it. I think if I recall for the solar mount, because I was going through a 1.5 inch, beam, because it was a 2x6, I believe, for me. So it was 1.5 inches thick, and I was going into a 4x4, which would be 3.5 inches. I think I used a 4 inch screw for that, 4 inch long. Um, but everything else was just pretty standard. I think they call them like number 8 or something, exterior wood screws for other connections, like when I attached the unistrut to the wood, and even when I did some of the bracing between the let's call them rafters, sort of, right? When I put bracing in there, I just kind of screwed in the end of those standard exterior wood screws. Okay, so we are definitely excited about your build at this point. Thanks, Michael. We are excited as well. It is really nice, but I'm really anxious to get a roof on it before the weather turns. The weather's been great, but I want to get a roof on it so that I won't have to worry about the bales on the inside, at least for water. I do still have to kind of do some coverage for the outside, but it'll be a lot easier just to cover the outside once the roof is on. So Maria, are you planning to add additions to the house later? Um, hey, Tom, comment man, got our weather report there. Ooh, it's chilly. So Maria, good question. There is no, I mean, a lot of times additions end up kind of unplanned. You might add to something in the future, but for our going in position is no. It is a one bedroom, one bathroom house. It's basically just we're kind of breaking it up into four corners, four rooms. It's just a living space, a kitchen space, which those are kind of open. So that's sort of half the house, just all open. And then the other side is our bedroom and a bathroom. And that's really the whole thing. And that's pretty simple, but I mean, you know, 90-95% of the time, it can be that simple. It's just me and Pam. It's pretty straightforward. When we do have some guests and stuff, in the early days, we might do as simple as a fold-out couch or a an air mattress, or we've still got our kind of outdoor. We've got a pop-up trailer that people stay in sometimes when they come here. Um, but that's all we plan on doing for the house. There will be some decking around the outside, but we are planning, I guess, an addition in a sense, but it's a separate structure. We are planning on building a casita, I guess, so just a separate bedroom outside, and a separate bathroom, outdoor bathroom outside. We've always wanted to do that, and that outdoor bathroom will be just as much for ourselves, even, in the nice weather to kind of shower off if you're doing something outside and you get dirty, or just when the weather's great to use that as an outdoor bathroom. So we've had that kind of in the plans from the beginning, but of course that's sort of an addition, but it won't be attached to the house. It will be separate, but that'll give us another bedroom space for guests and another bathroom space for guests and even for us when the weather's great, which will be a good portion of the year. We'll probably use that outdoor bathroom, outdoor shower a lot. So that's the plan there. Don't you plan on a porch on two sides? Yes. At least two of the sides. I haven't decided whether that porch will be, like a deck kind of built up, by as wood kind of off the ground, or if I'll just kind of bring the ground up and sort of make it like a patio. So I haven't really decided exactly how I'm going to get the outdoor um, patio space yet, but we definitely on at least two sides, potentially three, we want the ability to kind of sit and enjoy, we have some beautiful views. So we definitely have some patio space planned for, a good portion of the outside, which is why I don't plan on adding anything kind of to the building itself. I suppose there's always the potential to maybe screen something in or something like that, but that's not the plan. But a separate structure is in the plans. Outdoor kitchens are great. Absolutely. So I should say, I mean, I didn't think of it as, but, we're really looking forward to maybe thinking about some more like just for fun projects rather than for living projects. But obviously, once we get set up, one of the things we love to be outside and we love to hang out with our friends outside and cook and play games and things like that. So we will have a nice little kind of separate sort of, I call it a tiki bar or whatever you want to call it, type area that will set up somewhere. But again, it won't be attached to anything, I don't think, but we'll have several areas set up where hopefully just be kind of hangout spaces and just have a good time. We like to do a lot of our entertaining when we, not that we're huge entertainers, but when we do it, it'll largely be outside. So that's another reason our houses can be very small. There won't be many instances where we'll need a bunch of people in there. So most of what we do, if we have people over and stuff, we'll be doing a lot of things outside. So, and even the two of us will probably spend a good bit of our time outside. So, uh, hello, did I miss your new video, Boo? Oh, Don. So let's see. Comment. Last one was me mentioning I'm doing new channel for birds. Oh yeah, Don's got a bird channel as well. Working on a video about the results of my rainwater catchment system. Um, so thumbs up, everybody. Thanks, everybody. Extreme Cornhole. Cornhole is a game that we like to play a lot. There will definitely be room for that. I'm not much of a horseshoe guy, but I think I might have to become a horseshoe guy because we have so much wind here a lot of the year that even cornhole might be tough. That's the kind of the bag toss game. The wind can interfere with that a little bit, so we might pick up uh, horseshoes because it can be a little less susceptible to the wind. When we moved out here, Pam actually wanted to play badminton, and since the wind blows so much out here, I'm not sure if we're actually going to make that happen or not. But um, So let's see. Love the game of throwing bags. Oh yeah, actually, we played cornhole with Don over here just a few days ago. Maria asks, how many acres do we have? We have 8 acres. It's not volleyball court. I would love to have a volleyball court. Um, we have 8 acres. It is not huge, but there is a lot of space around us. So somebody did eventually, when we first got here, there was a bunch of land beyond us, and I mean, I can't say nobody owned it, but I think it was like a corporation or something, and so it would never really see any traffic. Somebody did finally buy the land, and there are some people planning on building a little bit around us, but they're far enough away, and it hasn't been too bad so far. We have one neighbor. We've definitely seen some increased traffic since some people have bought land around us, but we still have a pretty good buffer where we're at. It's a little bit it's a little oddly shaped because of the wash that we have right up against us. Our land is kind of a triangle um, because of a wash that runs along the edge of the property. Um, I used to live in Douglas. Now I'm in California. Is that an eye roller? You're not happy to be in California? I've never lived in California myself, so I'm from the East Coast, so Pittsburgh area. But, I've been out here well over 20 years, Pam and I both have, and, we're loving it. So, um, but, thanks for joining, Maria, by the way. Um, any other questions out there? I've rambled a good bit, and I said I would, I am getting hungry. My stomach is growling like crazy, so I'll probably cut it off fairly soon. Does anybody have any questions? Um Like I said, I think I'm on Cali is a train wreck, Greg says. It probably has its issues, but don't we all? Um, what was I gonna say? Oh, I don't remember. When will the house be done? Sherry says. Oh, that's good, Sherry. That's what I forgot I was gonna say. Others out there that are doing really anything on their own, whether it's building a house or doing whatever. What I have found, not surprisingly, it's been really tough, and I'm a little frazzled with this with getting a group to come out for the trusses. People have offered help a lot of times, and I really do appreciate it. And people do continue to offer help, and I will take some help now and then. But, I don't know if it's just me, but I mean, part of it is just me because I tend to do a lot of thinking before I actually act. But, the other thing that's been tough about the whole build and is kind of freaking me out with the trusses is it's so hard to anticipate how long a task is gonna take, and whatever that task may be, right? How long is it gonna take to put the bales up? How long is it gonna take to put the box beam on? How long is it gonna take to build that little wall when it's a task you've never done before? So I am a little freaked out right now with the trusses coming and the people coming to put the trusses up because I believe I have enough time to do all the things I need to do before that happens, but there are things I haven't done really before, or at least not exactly. So I hope nothing bites me and throws me off course. But that's been really hard. That's one of the hardest things about this is trying to let anyone help you because, well, for me specifically, um, I do tons of thinking, which isn't real conducive to having people standing here waiting to work. And and also it's just hard to time things when you don't know really what's going on and you kind of have to work through some problems on the fly. So 2 weeks is the standard answer for when things will be done. Maria asked, "Do we have a well?" We are currently on a shared well. We kind of just got lucky with that. When we got here, we weren't looking for property with a well, but it did have a well, and it had septic as well. When we got here, so we kind of just it was nice for hooking up our RV when we got here. The only thing we really needed was power, and we took care of that fairly quickly with a little mobile solar system. But we are currently on a shared well. However, if you watch any of our videos, it won't take you long to find out that we've had lots of problems with that well connection because it just so happens it's shared between a handful of properties, and we happen to be the property that the piping from that well has to actually cross through the wash to get to us. For our neighbors, it doesn't. It's closer to them. But because it comes across the wash and because of erosion and things like that, it's broken multiple times. So it's not the most reliable thing for us. We are using it right now. We will continue to use it for a little longer, but we have always planned on going to rainwater catchment, and we've got the majority of that setup in place. We've got rainwater tanks out here. We've got the roofs that will feed those rainwater tanks. So we do plan to kind of transition to a rainwater catchment setup and not really count on that well. We may still use it as a backup, and I've talked to the other people that are on it with me, and they don't mind me doing that in the future if we have kind of a low rain year or if we have any issues here. So it'll be nice to have that as a backup, but we do want to kind of get off of that well because it travels a good distance for us, and that's just nothing. That's been nothing but problems for us. So I'm glad it was there, and yeah, we had kind of water the day we got here, but it's been a challenge to keep that going. It has broken many times. So what else? Craig says thumbs up. Rainwater catchment rocks. Um, yeah, I'm really happy about that, and that was our plan all along. Like I said, we weren't looking for a property uh, with a well or a septic, but I'm glad it had both of those when we got here. It made things a little easier for us to hook up. I've already sort of connected the house piping to the septic, so that's kind of ready to go. Uh, yeah, so that's about it. Any other questions, anybody? I do think we'll be back next week. And Pam should be back next week. Whose idea was it to build with straw bales? Is it cobbing time after the trusses are up? Cobbing, the plastering, the earthen plaster on the bales. I'll get to your question, Maria. The plastering will probably wait a little bit. I don't think it's good. I could be crazy, but just like you have to be careful with your plaster drying too fast in the summer, and you want to kind of shade it and keep it wet if you can. I think freezing temperatures are not great for plaster, so I don't really want to plaster through the winter. It also would be pretty hard on our hands. I mean, that can get pretty chilly. So I think we're probably going to wait until spring to do the plaster. Now, there will be plenty of other things to think about. I can think about plumbing and electrical and things like that. So there will be plenty of work to do. I got to put in windows and doors still. There's a lot of work to be done. So it's not like I'll be sitting around waiting for the weather to change. But I do think we'll probably hold off on the plastering until spring. Um, so Maria asked whose idea was to build with straw bales. It was kind of both of ours. We had when we came out here, from the start, we wanted to do kind of some form of natural building, and there's several reasons for that, but a big one was we wanted to basically put in our own labor. We wanted to be something we could kind of do ourselves, and that's where a lot of your money savings is if you can do your own labor. And we retired to do this. So there were a couple options. We were pretty big into earth ships when we first started looking for land and things, and earth ships are still awesome. Craig and our friends Craig and Nikki are doing kind of a garage right now and plan on doing a house on their land and near Bisbee. um, so we were pretty big into earth ships when we moved out here, and we visited some people around, and Karen and Bob down in the Bisbee area. If anybody, Bob and Karen, yeah, I get the names right. If anybody around here knows them, they built a house out of cob, and they were older when they did it, and they did it themselves. And we went and visited them and talked to them about it, and it was pretty interesting. It's a great place, and they did it all themselves. And we had a talk with them about why'd you choose cob, how did it go, what would you do it again, would you do it the same way again? And it was one of the things that swayed me was Karen of that couple. If I When I asked her, would she do it again or whatever, I think what she said was, she said if she had it to do again, and she said it was also a little more expensive than what they did, even though I think it's still pretty economical. She said she would have done straw for the properties that it gives you and the ease of putting it up and things. She said, I would have chosen straw, but she said they, I guess, did theirs a little cheaper. Obviously, you don't have to buy cob. It's basically just mud. So even though straw is fairly cheap, um, they saved even more money by doing cob. But she said, if money wasn't a factor, she said, I would have done straw bale. So that's what got me kind of leaning that direction. And then we found some examples of straw bale around. We found a place nearby that has a bunch of those structures, and they actually teach how to build that way. And we went and took a course there actually. So we kind of just fell into it, but we knew we wanted natural building all along. There's a lot of different options, as anybody who knows Green Dream Project, they're out there doing earth bags. Those are cool too. There's a lot of cool stuff. So But we landed on it because it seemed to work for us. We liked the combination of cost versus labor versus um, time and all that stuff. So and so far, even though it did take me, of course, longer than expected to put those bales up, they did go up pretty fast. So it does have that advantage. Those walls, once you know what you're doing, once you know how you're going to do it, um, straw bale walls can go up really quickly compared to a lot of other things. So that was kind of nice. Um, so I like that there's a lot of hippies over there. The walls sure go up fast and it's well insulated. Absolutely. Retirees that need affordable places to live. Windows are disappearing across the nation. Maybe get them on site. Maybe. I did not know that. Before the monsoon, when I was trying to beat the monsoon, I was talking to window folks, and I think I've worked out kind of what windows I want. Um, but I didn't know that, so I may start making some phone calls again. I can be a little flexible, I think, with that timing, but obviously we've got to close it up at some point. Uh, I thought your walls went up shockingly fast. Don says they really did go up quick. They really did. Um, we need windows too, says uh, Aircrete Housefield. Yeah, so I made some kind of decisions on, and I talked to a company about getting some special windows for the south side of our building for passive solar performance. But I did not pull the trigger, mostly because I didn't, we decided to hold off on bales and we decided to hold off on everything basically through the monsoon. So I didn't pull the trigger, but I had done a lot of the research. But I had not heard that there were issues getting windows now, so I might get back into that again, because that will be one of the next steps after we get this roof on. Will probably be windows and doors. Um, so I hadn't heard that yet, so I'll have to start looking again. Uh, so all right, guys, I've still pushed it to almost an hour, even though I said I would keep it shorter. But thanks again, as always. Thanks everybody for joining. Please hit that thumbs up button if you haven't. I see there's 16 to 17. It's really close. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching the videos. As always, I'd always like to put out more, but we're doing the best we can. It's tough to keep up with all that stuff, as anybody who does it knows. Pam will be back next week. More decisions need to be made before you put in the windows. So have a good one. Hope you feel better, Pam. Night all. Okay. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to say good night. Thanks as always. We'll see you again soon. Keep watching those videos. Keep telling your friends. And it's going to get fun here. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Good night.